It's time for the drive with Q on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. Now, here's Q.
Good afternoon, everyone. 3 o'clock straight up on the East Coast is indeed a Wednesday edition of The Drive with Q. As always, I'm your host, Rich Quinones. Angel Martinez behind the glass producing the show, keeping us on the air. 2 hours to play with on this 11th of September 2024, coming at you inside the friendly confines of the Sports Radio 102.9 FM studios, powered by Coastal Sports Network and brought to you by our wonderful friends over at Zen Concepts, Acorn to Oak, and of course, Play It Again Sports. 2 hours to play with. As always, we want to hear from you guys. Bring something to the table. 727-858-6650. A very busy show. And look, I'll say this. We're going to do a lot of NFL. We'll have the, my thoughts, opinions, and you guys are always encouraged to get in on the conversation as well when it comes to Tyreek Hill and the aftermath. We got a lot of NFL week 2 right around the corner. Sneak peek at the lines from a gambling standpoint. MLB pennant races are starting to heat up. But I'll start and I'll end the show with this, and then we'll lay out the segments for you. Look, I know September 11th, I don't like to say the anniversary of 9/11. It just doesn't sit right with me. I'll tell you a couple stories in the 4:30-ish hour, but I know it's a rough day for many. And as you know, we just kind of keep it simple. Just never forget what transpired on that day. And of course, thoughts and prayers to everyone that was involved on September 11th, 2001, a day that we will never, ever forget in this country and for me in this lifetime. But we want to have a little fun, a little engagement, and a little opinions because that's what we typically do. You guys have been fantastic, by the way, chiming in, whether you agree, disagree with your comments, your takes. It's what it's all about, right? That's what it's all about. Contrary to what people might think, this is still a free country. So you can say whatever you would like on the air, whether we agree or not. But we have a lot of NFL to dive into today. And man, I'll tell you, the opinions across the board on what's going on in the NFL, the opinions across the board on Tyreek Hill, on Aaron Rodgers and his appearances on McAfee, on San Francisco and the injuries, right? All of a sudden they're starting to mount up. What's going on with Joe Burrow in Cincinnati? Panic time for a couple teams here and there. Folks, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about at the end of the day when we're talking sport. And that's exactly what we're doing. When we're talking sports, and I think there's so many storylines right now in the NFL, and obviously the aftermath of what's transpired and what is transpiring in regards to Miami's wide receiver, Tyreek Hill. We all know the story. Stop prior to Sunday's game, going into Hard Rock. Miami's getting ready to take on Jacksonville, a game they ultimately won. Tyreek went off on the game, pulled out of the car, handcuffed, right? And then finally let go, citations. There's so many layers to unpack with this. There really is. And we're going to try our best to kind of unpack them. We will have Hartford-based attorney Brooke Goff. She's going to join me around 3:40. She's the founding partner and CEO of Goff Law Group based out of Hartford. Her firm is licensed in Connecticut, Rhode Island, Mass, New York as well. And she's a big-time football fan, so we're going to have a little fun with that. But I want to get her thoughts and takes from a legal standpoint, the angles, if you will. And look, I've gone back and forth. What's up, GPG? What's up, Gas Pump Guy? I've been back and forth on this. I've been back, and me and my friends, we got a text feed. There's a bunch of us. We're going back and forth. Everyone's got their opinion. And I believe in a situation like this, right, wrong, or indifferent. And it's most likely it's going to, again, rub some people the wrong way. And that's okay. You don't have to like what I'm about to say. But at the end of the day, whether we want to, we have to obey the law. Whether we want to bite our tongue, we have to when it comes to police and being stopped. And if you're speeding, rural, residential, I don't care. If you're going over the speeding limit, I think this whole situation got out of hand because, again, you got cause and effect. Now, just follow me for a minute. If you don't know who Tyreek Hill is, I can't blame a cop for not knowing who Tyreek Hill is. But at the end of the day, I also know if you're going that route every day to get to Hard Rock Stadium and it's already cornered off and you already got cops there monitoring, they probably know he's a football player, right? But man, at the end of the day, you can't mouth off to the cop. Now, with that being said, you got a cop that's dragging him out of the car, right? I mean, so listen, you're going to get Tyreek Hill and you will see a lawsuit. And he came out about an hour or so ago and said the police beat the dog out of me, right? Beat the dog out of me. The situation could have been handled better by both parties. But this is where I'm going to push back a little bit with some people and some of their takes. And we're going to open it up in a couple moments. I want to get all your comments. We're going to open up in a couple moments. So let me just go through the mono for a second. I think in a situation like this, whether you're an athlete, whether you're a millionaire, black, white, yellow, green, whatever, once you start to bark back at law enforcement, that pretty much gives them the opening. Now, I'm not saying it gives them the opening to do whatever the hell they please. That's not what I'm saying. But it gives them the opening. You are basically, it's low-bearing fruit in their eyes. They're basically saying, you're giving me a reason now. You're giving me a reason. So listen, tint the window 35% Florida. You guys know this. You have tinted windows. It's almost as though you're inviting, right? What's going on? Who's in the car? Is there a concealed weapon? We don't know. So they're taking precaution. I was telling my buddies, I remember tinting my windows. I couldn't even drive home that night. It didn't even pass inspection. It was the last time I tinted windows. First and last time, years ago. Years ago. But again, if you're Tyreek Hill, you should have left the window of your car down. That's it. I mean, honestly, you have to do a better job. You just can't sit there and say, because I'm an athlete, because I'm a face of one of these franchises, everyone knows me. I ball out on a Sunday. I make millions and millions of dollars. I'm untouchable. No, that's where you're wrong. That's where you're wrong. That's where all bets are off. When the cop says pull down the window, lower your window, keep the friggin' window down. Instead, you'll roll it up. You know what you're doing? You're basically poking the bear. It's exactly what you're doing. You know, and you're sitting there, you don't want attention. Come on, man. Phones out, cameras out. That's exactly what you wanted by rolling back up the window. Come on, don't give me the babe in the woods routine. It's exactly what you wanted. It's exactly what he wanted at that moment. You have to have a little more decorum. You have to. And again, once you basically tell the cop F you, and by doing that, I'm not gonna acknowledge you. And obviously you didn't say F you, but point being is when I sit there and say, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not listening to you. I'm not doing that. You're not gonna tell me what to do. When you do that, all bets are off. Now, again, at that moment, the cop, again, should have had a little more patience, a little more decorum, a little more resolve, and you drag him out of the car. It is a bad look, right? Because once they tap on the window, lower the window, man. That's it. And it's over with. And a 10-minute citation, the ticket is written and you're off and you're gone. See ya. That's it. But that doesn't happen. That's not what happens. So the officer gets pissed off. The officer gets ticked off. You're poking the bear. I'm going to pull you out of the car by your arm and your head and force him face first on the ground. It was a bad look. Put the knee in the middle of his back. It's a bad look all around. But I believe if you are just 100%, if you are 100% on this day, and this is again my opinion, and you guys are entitled to your opinion, right? You're entitled to it. It's just, again, my opinion. That's all it is. If you're sitting here and you're saying that Tyreek Hill should not shoulder any type of blame at all, man, you're missing. You're missing what transpired. You're missing the other part of the issue sometimes. If you're going to sit there and say he gets a free pass, come on, man. That's just a bad look. It's a bad look. And it's always after the fact, right? This is from those sitting there saying, "Get the hell out of here, Q. What the hell are you talking about?" This is from Tyreek Hill now, aftermath, right? I could have been better. I could have let down my window. At the end of the day, I'm human. I gotta follow the rules. See, that's where people will up in arms, flailing about. I don't need to follow rules. I can do whatever the hell I want to do. Okay, fine. Then all of a sudden, what do we have? We have chaos. We have anarchy. We have nonsense. We're acting like, peasant countries, third world countries. We're acting like where there's no order, there's no law. Everyone's the inmates are running the friggin' asylum. Have fun with that. Now, again, does that condone the cop for dragging him out and roughing him up like that? Absolutely not. Both can be true. Both can be true. And this story is not going away. Nor should it go away. I mean, if that's me, and again, everyone approaches certain scenarios in their life, and I'll share this with you in the 4:00 hour, but we act or sometimes we react to certain situations. Sometimes, and again, no pun intended, you might have the personality where you shoot, then you look. And again, basically, I'm saying if you're a feisty person, if you're a passionate person, if you're sprouting off or have an opinion at the mouth, then you're worried about the repercussions afterwards. Not literally. But point being, in this situation, both parties did not handle it the right way. They didn't. And from a legal standpoint, look, this isn't going away. They want these cops to get fired. Probably you're going to see lawsuits. Listen, if you're a player and you're in this situation and you're a couple blocks away from the stadium, opening day, you got Super Bowl aspirations. Imagine for a moment, just follow me for a second. Imagine for a moment, what if Tyreek Hill, when he was pulled out, decided, I'm going to take a swing at this cop? Right? What if? What if he did that? What if he turned around and he took a swing? What are we saying today? What are we saying? What happens if the cop turned around and maybe broke his arm? I mean, I'm throwing it out there. I know these are all, we're speculating, right? We're speculating. That's what we're doing right now. But what if that happened? What are we going to do then? What's Tyreek? What's he doing then? Point being is, you can't be a selfish player, man. You can't be a selfish individual in that sense, in that regard. And you have to know exactly what the hell you're getting yourself into. And you have to actually react the right way. That's all I'm saying. And again, some people don't want to hear it. They just don't. And it's probably going to turn them off. It's probably going to turn them off. I don't know what to tell you. It's my opinion. You got to know better, man. You got to know. You got to know. I'm a marquee player in the NFL. I'm one of the best players in the NFL. I have to do right by my team. I can't put myself in that situation. I can't put these guys in that situation. That's a selfish thing to do. And again, going back to what I said before, it could have cost him dearly. Imagine he was sitting there saying, I just had surgery on my knee. Imagine if he's thrown a certain way, breaks his wrist, breaks his arm, tears up his knee. For what? Because you didn't want to roll down the friggin' window? Because you didn't like the cop's tone or the attitude? I mean, come on. Then you know what everyone's saying today? That's on Tyreek. Or that's on player A, player B, player C. How friggin' selfish, how stupid, how immature, how dumb can you be? This is exactly what they're saying. So it could have been worse, is my point. It could have been 100% substantially worse. And it would have been a major, major black eye, not only for what's going on in this country the last several years, but also for the NFL. It just would have been a horrible look. Both parties can be wrong. They could have handled it better. So we'll get a little legal perspective as well. I also, college football, 4 o'clock hour. We got a lot of feedback from the other show earlier in the weekend prior to kickoff. I want to get into a little more Deion Sanders, Coach Prime. Got a lot of guys commenting on some of my comments earlier in the week. Week 2 in the NFL, look ahead lines. We have to get into that. And also Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. I mean, folks, why do you guys want to keep again, why do you still want to just get sucked in, right? Get sucked in to this nonsense and the hype. Because if you're a Jet fan, all it is, again, is disappointment. All right, we're going to open up the comments on the other side. 727-858-6650, 727-858-6650. Just crank it up on a Wednesday edition of The Drive with Q. Rich Quinones here. Mi hermano Angel Martinez behind the glass, producing the show, keeping us on the air. We'll take you up to 5 o'clock straight up. Don't forget to download the app. Sports Radio 1029 FM. The Game. We are powered by ION TV for all your late breaking news, weather, traffic alerts. Check them out on X and online, iontv.com. And of course, Play It Again Sports, Acorn to Oak, and Zen Auto Concepts, one of the best detailers in all of Florida. 20 past 3 o'clock hour. Your calls, your texts on the other side.
ION Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. ION Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, The Game, powered by ION Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Download the Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game app and tell your friends that Florida has a new leader in digital sports radio.
All right, 20 past 3 o'clock hour. We'll open it up as well, 727-858-6650. And again, I want to be clear. A lot of comments coming in on Tyreek Hill. Imagine, you took a swing at the cop. They use such brute force. You tear up his knee. End of the day, you got to be smart. You got to listen to the cop. You got to bite your tongue. You got to think about your team. He didn't. But I don't condone the cop's actions at all. I don't. I don't. I don't want to get it twisted. Let me hear what you guys have to say. 727-858-6650. 727-858-6650. We'll rip through some of these comments. You guys are texting in on a Wednesday edition of The Drive with Q. Rich Quinones here. Angel Martinez behind the glass. And again, as always, we are powered by our good friends over at Ion TV. And we'll do our plays from Played Against Sports in the 4 o'clock hour. All right. Let's see what you guys have to say. Tyreek Hill, who's right, who's wrong? What's going to be the aftermath of this one? 727-858-6650. Also, too, I want to get into a lot more of the NFL when we're talking about some of these week 2 plays. We want to dive into those as well. So early on, we get a little sneak peek of what's going on in the NFL with some of these lines. You got Thursday night football, which is tomorrow night, which is right around the corner. So, and oh, by the way, who's playing tomorrow night in Thursday night football? The team of the day, I guess you can say, the hot topic, the Miami Dolphins getting set to take on the Buffalo Bills. And coincidentally enough, that game is in Miami, Hard Rock Stadium. 727-858-6650. All right, let's see what you guys have to say out there. Mike Hill to me should have been suspended by the NFL or at least a hefty fine. Did the police use excessive force? Yes. But what's the old Tony Soprano saying? Those give respect, get respect. Wow. Suspended by the NFL. Rolling up heavy tinted glass window was a strike 1, then telling the police, just give me the ticket. I got to go with strike 2. Then the end zone joke was the final straw in my eyes. It's an interesting take. That's a real interesting take. The Bunker Boys, Stephen Ross can't send a car to pick him up. Make sure he's on time to the game. Yeah, I mean, listen, now we're splitting hairs with that, right? I mean, these players, we're going to take one isolated incident. These players know how to get to and from the game, and they want to drive to the game. They want to be left alone. It's not like, again, you're out, you're drinking, then all of a sudden I can send a car. I mean, it's to me, I think it's somewhat apples and oranges, but I appreciate what you're saying. And I understand the comment. Folks, it's just a bad look, man. You have to think smarter. You have to be better. You got to think about, as my buddy mentioned, you lose the battle, but you win the war, right? You just can't give him a free pass. You just can't. You just can't. And we know what's been going on. We know. We're not foolish, right? Listen, here's the thing in the NFL right now. Now you got a storyline for Thursday night on Amazon Prime. Miami's laying 2.5. And I'm already starting to look at week 2. And your comments, you guys can keep chiming in on Hill and whatnot in the aftermath. But I believe there's going to be some pending lawsuits. I definitely foresee that coming. But the fact now that you kind of come out and say, I probably could have done a better job, it's not going to weaken and or strengthen the case, but be that as it may. Week 2, it is, I don't want to say panic time for some teams. I don't want to say that, but man, the injury bug already is starting to hurt teams, right? And then you've got also the outside stuff. I mean, we're talking about Hill. How about Deshaun Watson? I haven't even mentioned Deshaun Watson. You guys seen the latest on Deshaun Watson? He has to come out and deny more sexual assault allegations, latest sexual assault allegations. My God, they just come out of the woodwork. NFL on Tuesday is reviewing a complaint under the personal conduct policy, but they also added Watson will not be placed on the commissioner's exempt list because there have been no formal charges and the league's review just began. When are we going to realize this guy is just not a good dude? Like, when are people going to wake up? right? When are people going to wake up and just realize that he's just not a good dude? I mean, it's just, like I said, he's not a good dude at all. And yet, people think this guy can still play in the NFL. He can't. He just can't. 27 past 3 o'clock hour. And again, for you guys, I know you guys are texting in, you guys are hitting me up. If you are listening in on the app website, unmute the video, tap on the top of the screen. You're listening on the radio app, just hit the play button and the audio is going to sound as well. So appreciate that little memo from our guy, Angel. Appreciate that. But Deshaun Watson, I mean, the guy can't play anymore. He's cooked. This guy's absolutely shot as a quarterback. Who the hell's going to want to trade for him? Nobody's going to want to take on guaranteed money. Don't be shocked if Jameis Winston is starting at some point this season. And speaking of quarterbacks who are shot, Russell Wilson. Pittsburgh's going to go with Fields again. And I look like a genius because I said it in August. I said March, April, whenever it was, that Justin Fields was going to be a week 1 starter. Now, did I know that Russell Wilson was going to have the calf injury? Well, it kind of opened up the door. I mean, if you're looking at a futures bet and you're saying who's going to get more starts and you're taking the games and the over with Justin Fields, you're probably feeling pretty good about yourself. Russell Wilson, that's another quarterback. He's shot. He's done. He's absolutely done. Bob Summers Point chiming in. Q, always love the opening monologue. You hit the nail right on the head. If you're Tyreek Hill, it doesn't matter if you're an athlete, doesn't matter if you're white, black, as you alluded to, you're making millions of dollars. You must abide by the law. Indifferent, right, wrong, it doesn't matter. Shut your mouth, roll down the window. And oh, by the way, did you see the ratings with the NFL per game? Thank you, Bobby. I'm going to get into the ratings as well. I think it was like 21 million viewers per game. It just shows you that the NFL is just on another level when it comes to how they make money. It's ungodly. It's absurd. It's absurd. It's absurd how much money the league makes. And to your point, yeah, you just got to abide by. Nobody likes to be told what to do. Nobody does. You guys all have jobs. You all have bosses. You guys probably get annoyed. But again, you got to listen to them or you're going to get fired. In this case, you're listening to a cop. You don't give, and again, no pun intended, you don't extra ammo. You just don't. You don't give a cop a reason to want to pull you out of a car. You don't give them a reason to want to just grab you. You don't. In some cases, they're flat out wrong for how they act. Some cases, they are flat out wrong how they act. But in this case, I know that what's going to happen is, again, it just always comes down to race, right? It comes down to black, white. It's always going to come down to that. And everyone's got their own thoughts. Everyone has their own opinions. And I welcome it. And again, we might agree, we might disagree, but I'm telling you, man, when you watch this, you'll see both sides. When you keep going back to the footage, some people will say the PD were excessive, or did they really show more restraint? Was to stop by the book, because that's what IA is going to look at. And then ultimately, that next step is, do people believe that Tyreek Hill was racially profiled? And I think that's a fair question to ask. Gas pump guy, Q, but do you really believe that if you would have left the windows down, that it all would have ended right there? I don't. I think the cop was on a mission. I can't answer that, man. It's a great, great point. I'll tell you a story in the 4 o'clock hour. That'll, again, peel back the curtain a little bit, because it happened to me. But I'll tell you that in the 4 o'clock hour. I don't know. I believe that if you roll the windows up and you roll the windows down, you roll the windows up, you roll the windows down, I think you're almost inviting. Look, we've all gotten a ticket before for maybe speeding when we were younger, right? And all of a sudden you're nervous. You see the cop behind you. He walks up to the car, license and registration. You can there's two ways, two schools of thought. You can sit there and say, yes, officer, here's my license and registration. Let me come back. Do you know you're speeding? Hey, man, I'm sorry. Just got my license. A little overzealous. I know. I'm sorry. It won't happen again. I apologize. It's on me. You skate. Okay. But now if it's license and registration, what did I do? Why? Hold on. I'm on the phone with my agent. Now, well, obviously 18 years old, but point being, you have to sometimes learn to not react, but be proactive. And in that case, I think Tyreek Hill was reacting. And to Gas Pump Guy's point, I can't sit there and speculate if a cop was on a mission. Listen, sometimes cops wake up on the wrong side of the bed. I got law enforcement all over in my family and friends. I know how their personalities are. It doesn't mean they're dirty. It doesn't mean they're corrupt. It doesn't mean they're bad cops. But yeah, sometimes you catch a guy on a bad day, and I don't know. You're asking me to think in that situation, put myself in the cop's mind, and I can. And I believe if the window was just roll down, stay down, he got off the phone. He said, hey, I'm Tyreek Hill. I play for the Dolphins. I'm just on the phone with my agent, Drew. I got to call you back. I just got pulled over. That's it. That is it. It is a 10-minute issue, citation, go. What do you think, Angel?
Jay, now, of course, we can always play back the video if you would like I did on my show earlier today. But to me, it's if Tyreek Hill, yes, should have. You definitely want to keep the window down because if you already put it down the first time, just keep it down. I mean, it's beyond. Yeah,
I mean, we've seen it enough time, but I know what you're saying. It's keep it down, right? Keep it down the window.
So from Bariglio, a text came in, may not look the man, but must respect the uniform. May not look me the man, but respect. Okay.
So finish your thought. Go ahead. Finish your thought first.
So my thing is that, okay. Yes. If you put down the window, sorry, because as a text came in, I would make sure
finish your thought.
Comes across, but, once the window went down, because I mean, it is dark. That is super dark tint. So if you put the window down, does it avoid more conflict? Yes. If you would have kept it down, I understand keeping it up. And if, the cop for a second, again, just play devil's advocate as much as I can.
Yeah. Fire away.
For a second, it seemed like he was going to be like, all right, you know what? Let me walk back real quick. But then it was like the window went like basically all the way up and he tapped back on the window, like keep the window down. Right. And if he would have, once he tapped on a window the second time, if he would have kept it down, then maybe, just throwing it out there, maybe it would have been a whole different story. But at the same time, to me, in my opinion, it just seemed like that cop was too amped up. Like he was ready to just a hard charge regardless. And the same way, if you have
you're saying he was waiting for Hill to give him a reason.
Yeah, because look at the second cop. The second cop that was there, right? So the first one says, the second one that pulled up, he's right behind his partner there. And then he turns around. Once he realizes Tyreek Hill, and he, at the third cop that was behind them, he turns and says, it's Tyreek Hill.
Well, and that's when he turned around and he also said, hey, man, what did Tyreek Hill saying? Something like, something about color or being black, and the cop, the cop was Cuban, right? So he turned around. He's like, yeah, we all got color. Something. I'm just kind of paraphrasing. Like he shot back as well. Again, I cannot. You're asking me to go in the mind.
No, but it wasn't. No, but that was after they were out the car.
Yeah. The other cop recognized him and said, hey, and he said, oh, I didn't. Okay. But again, it's Monday morning quarterbacking. In any other situation, if you keep the friggin' window down, that's it.
Right.
End of story.
Right. He should have.
Story. You get a 10-minute citation and you drive off to the game.
Yeah. If you keep the window down, correct, because at least you're trying to de-escalate someone that might have been already escalated. So I understand that. So you keep the window down. The same way, like I mentioned this morning, I was going to work, dark 30 in the morning, had my Dodge Neon. The two windows in the front, it was a 4-door, so I can hit the two windows to go down. But the back windows, I would have to physically roll them down. Now, I had light tinted windows. This is when I was living in Philly and I was working out in the county. So I turned the dome light on the inside of the car as a cop approached the car. I had my hands on the steering wheel. And he said, good morning. I said, good morning. He goes, how are you? I said, I'm fine. And then he mentioned like, hey, the only reason why I put on the lights, I pulled you over because you were doing 29 and a 25. And I was like, okay, I already had my license, so I'm ready to go. And he said, I'm letting you know, I'm just kind of giving you a warning, but if you don't mind, may I see your license? I said, sure. So I handed it to him. So the only other question he had before he walked away, he says, I'm going to go check everything out, make sure everything's fine. If everything's fine, I'll just give you a warning, you'd be on your way. And I said, okay, no problem. So, but before he walked away, he says, why did you turn on the light? And I said, well, I put my 2 windows down and I put on the dome light for both of our safety, yours and mine, because I can't power down my windows in the back. And I know you guys like to look, and it's early in the morning, so I want to make sure everybody's safe here. Walked, came back, thanked me for not only just, obviously complying, but also for taking into his accountability to safety, because it was a light tinted window. And like I said, I mean, even if the window's up, you can see into the car. The only reason why I try to do is try to save the seats and stuff. But he was nice. He was cordial. Didn't give me a ticket, even though it was only 4 miles, 29 and 25. But even still, I mean, could he have been a jerk? He could have been. Could I have been an asshole? I could have been as well, but I didn't want to because it doesn't make any sense. But in going to Tyreek's situation, he should have left the window down. Yes, I think we're all in agreement.
We gotta understand, man. It's just everything happens in such a split nanosecond. Everything could man. And I'm not siding. Okay.
Right.
And I told you guys, full disclosure, law enforcement in my family, left and right, friends, law enforcement, full disclosure. So the tint, man, I went through it. I'm walking to why do you think they walk a certain way? Why do you think their hands are a certain way? The placement when they walk, why do you think they tap on the glass? Or they got someone on the other side, or they peer with the light first and foremost in the back seat, then the front seat. You don't know what the hell is going on there.
Or the fingerprints on the taillight.
You don't. Bunker Boy chimes in. Hill's civil rights violated, where the cop's civil rights violated. Cop had thin skin when it's some of the smoke. I mean, who's to say? I don't know about that. We'll get into that. I listen. There's a lot of layers to unpack.
Right.
With this, right? I want to take quick time out, and then we'll reset the table. We'll punch up Brooke off. She's going to join us as well, and we'll get a really good take, right? Founding partner, CEO of Golf Law Group based out of Hartford. And again, her firm's licensed in a various amount of states. We'll get into Connecticut, Rhode Island, Mass, and New York. We'll get her thoughts on this. She's an avid football fan too. So nice little spin on that for those that are just chiming in. We'll kind of reset the table for you. 40 past the 3 o'clock hour. Keep the comments rolling in 727-858-6650. It is indeed a Wednesday edition of The Drive with Q. Rich Quinones here. Angel Martinez behind the glass. Quickie timeout. We'll come back on the other side.
Hey, Dad. Your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad. Your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey. Why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class. Let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all of these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him at the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Wow. Awesome. Where were you, Jill?
Yeah. We went to the forest. It's not that far away. Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
All right, 3:40 on a Wednesday edition of The Drive with Q, 727-858-6650. And Rich Quinones is here, Angel behind the glass. We'll take you up to 5-ish. We'll see if we can punch up Brooke. I think she's hanging out in as we like to describe it as the Q room. It's our poor man's version of the green room. And there she is.
Nice.
Exactly. Kind enough to join us for a couple moments. And we appreciate it. For those just tuning in, Hartford-based attorney Brooke Goff. And again, she does a great job, founding partner, CEO of Goff Law Group based out of Hartford, licensed in Connecticut, Rhode Island, Mass, New York. Also an NFL fan. We'll have a little fun with that. But Brooke, I appreciate you jumping on board for a couple moments. First and foremost, when you watch, this story comes down with Tyreek Hill and then all of a sudden the aftermath, right? Because we always have to get our ducks in a row. First initial reaction without seeing any type of video body cam footage. What's your first initial thought?
Do you want the honest answer to that? My first response?
We want full transparency always on the show. Fire away.
How could they do this to me? He was my first round pick in my fantasy league. And he's playing in 2 hours.
That's a transparency. I thought you were coming at me with some heavy hitting legal, but again, I need him on a Sunday against that Jags secondary.
That's it. And he came through as he always does. So I play in 5 fantasy leagues. We're very avid. We're Jets fans. So you should feel bad for me about that, but we're Jets fans, and so we can't draft our own players most of the time. So we tend to draft, Dolphins come up a lot. So full disclosure, my first thought was this would happen to a Jets fan. Yeah. I got the second pick in the fantasy draft. Tyreek Hill was my second pick, and this is what's happened. So that was my first pick. When that passed through, I thought back to Scotty Scheffler, right? Because we just saw this happen. And I sat here and I go, and I'm trying to rationalize, because a lot of people are saying this is about race, and I agree. I 1000% agree. This traffic stop, the way it was conducted, absolutely, I would tell you, had to do with race. Tyreek Hill, the way he's handled this, the way he says, hey, what would happen if I wasn't Tyreek Hill? Mm-hmm. He is so classy to actually say that instead of what would have happened if I were a white male in that McLaren, right? So we have to give him the credit he deserves for playing it that way. I mean, it's mortifying. I mean, think about it. This guy's got kids, a lot of them, as we found out in the offseason. He's got kids. And this guy is speeding in a McLaren, I think it was a 720, $375,000 to $450,000 car. And because he won't roll the window all the way down, he's being taken out in cuffs and thrown on the ground. I mean, are we animals? Like, what is happening here? I do this work. I've seen DUI offenders, and they don't get thrown to the ground. So you have to think it should send a message that's scarier than any message we've ever seen, which is even our pro athletes are not safe. And I'm not suggesting they should be, but, I think that there's this regular, thought process with people that, if you're somebody, pro athlete, celebrity, maybe you get some special favors, right? Maybe. I mean, I think this shows the opposite. And I got it to people are like, well, what if you didn't know who Tyreek Hill is? And my response to that is, if you're a cop in Miami and you don't know who Tyreek Hill is, we got bigger problems, right? I mean, really, think about that. So the guy's not a big dude. He's 5'10". He's driving like I said, a fancy car. Nothing that I have heard suggests that this guy should have been thrown to the ground or handcuffed and embarrassed in front of all of Miami to see. And then his teammate Campbell comes by, who is a big guy.
Like Calais
and then
Campbell.
They can see him. It's like, it's when is it enough? And when are the excuses from the police force, we're going to investigate? Well, your investigations aren't working, people. It's shown us over the last 2 to 3 years. What are we doing next? Like, what ramifications do the police departments have as in totality? Like, the police departments just passed the buck. what ramifications are we going to give to the police departments to hurt themselves? What fines are we going to give them so that maybe they actually stop investigating and start doing?
Well, a couple of things you really bring up, and you're coming out of the gate with fire, which is great.
My middle name is Fire, babe.
Listen, hey, that's what.
Sure.
Hey. And you pulled the babe card, the babe in the woods. Hey,
there you go.
A couple
typical lawyer, I suppose.
Yeah, right. Let me ask you this to start. Do you believe that Tyreek Hill was racially profiled?
I do. Yes.
Unequivocally.
Yeah. I will tell you. Let me flip it to you.
Yeah.
Then that McLaren 720 was a 55-year-old retired white stock trader out of New York that is retired to Miami. Are they handcuffing him and throwing him to the ground when he doesn't want to roll his window down all the way?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. If he's barking back, you're giving the cop. See, I'm torn between, because I get both sides. I get both sides of this. And I said, I don't know if you listened to the beginning of the show, full disclosure, I've had law enforcement in my family. My father was a cop and detective in New York for 20 something years, but a different time. It was a different time back then. My whole thing was, don't give the cop, who is obviously a prick in this regard, don't give him any ammunition, no pun intended, and mouth off. Like, if the window comes down, keep it down. It could have been a routine stop. 10 minutes, you're in and out. To answer your question, probably not. If a white dude's getting pulled over. All right, why were you speeding? Oh, I'm running late to a party or to a luncheon. And you're right. The cops should know better who he is, that being close in proximity to Hard Rock Stadium. But I also look at it as, don't give him any type of reason, right? Was he out of bounds to drag him out like that? 100%. And Tyreek even came out afterwards and said, yeah, you know what? I probably should have kept, the window down. I think everything you're saying is very valid. I just kind of wanted to counter it with a couple of my points.
I think it's fair, but we're also two white people talking about it, right? So think about that. You have Tyreek Hill, who has probably lived a life of the discrimination, and he's probably sick of it, and as he should be. We're in 2024, okay? So you have a guy that's speeding. I have not heard that he disputes he was speeding. So sure, The ticket doesn't sound like he doesn't feel the ticket should have been given, but you have this man that's speeding. He gets pulled over in his McLaren 720, which, by the way, he's worked his to the bone for, harder than most of us have worked for, because he has performed in the NFL, which is a very, very, very difficult sport on your body. And he's earned everything he's got. And now feels like he's got to speak to a police officer in a different manner than maybe a white 55-year-old male that presents and appears that, yes, I personally, and I'm not suggesting, but I mean, Lord only knows what was going through the mind of the cop. Was the car stolen? I don't tell me you did, we all can't sit here and think that, right? My understanding is Tyreek did give his license and registration when he was asked. And then that's when the cop said, roll your window back down. Why? And to be honest, Tyreek brings up a good point too. He's like, listen, I was embarrassed. I don't need the whole, and it is embarrassing, and I don't want the public attention, because for most of us, we don't know what it's like to be followed around with cameras everywhere we go. He certainly does.
Right.
And, for all he knows, and just as it's happened, if this were you or I, would this have been, documented the way it was? There were members of the public that knew who this was that stopped and did video. That's all you need to see.
Yeah. Well, we always talk, and you know this, right? It's always Bunker Boy chiming out deep. Are you guys making this back and forth affair with the comments today? That's why I love you guys tuning in. It's always the cause and effect, right? I mean, so you pretty much stated if you should have listened more. And I guess you've had clients like this. I'm wondering if your first instinct is, well, why didn't you just listen to the cop?
It sounds like he did listen to the cop until the cop said, roll your window all the way down. And again, I go back to, we cannot sit here and say we know what it's like to be a black male in America. No. We cannot.
No.
And there comes a point, I mean, you're speaking to a white, but a female in America. I get it. And to some regard, right? But it comes a point where when is enough enough? And I'm sure, listen, this guy's getting ready for a game. He's probably in the, you have to be in a certain mindset to be
The
able to go out
zone.
and do
Yep.
what they do. And this is completely disrupted it all. I mean, I say this as non selfish as possible, but he did put up 29 points for me in that game. I mean, there's a lot to be said about that, because people were going at him. People are going at him about when they celebrated in the end zone, he was getting arrested. He's drawing attention to a problem. Let him.
Yeah.
So I think it's messed up. I think it's absolute racial profiling. Nobody's going to change my mind.
Okay.
And this is me. This is a lawyer.
And you're entitled. Yeah. And listen, your opinion means something, right? Your insight, you've been practicing law your entire life. So guess what? You've got a say in the matter, and we take it with a grain of salt, and I respect it. I believe also too that the cop used excessive force. I think he had a
100%.
restraint. I think, again, I kind of go back, and I'm not trying to hedge. I'm really not. It could have been both handled better. Now, what do you believe? What in your mind was Tyreek Hill's civil rights violated?
I'd say yes, with the detainment and the throwing. Yeah, I would say sure. I think that's a harder argument to make. I do, but I mean, they're gonna. This is the problem. This is why they call these investigations. They're gonna say what the police are gonna say, and I represent a ton of cops, by the way. They respect me. I like them very much. I respect everything they do. I do, and it stinks because there's a few bad apples spoil the bunch, and that's the truth.
Agreed.
And that's the truth of it. And
Agreed.
whether that's education, whether that's training, whatever the case might be. But, I have to tell you, there's always seems to be an excuse that gets away from the civil rights argument, because in America, we don't like to talk about violation of civil rights, and that's okay. I think, I will tell you how this stuff stops is doing exactly what Tyreek Hill has done. I think, and I say this not because he got me 30 points in fantasy.
You always keep going back to that one.
I think it's an important piece that he deserves even more respect. He's the person that should be the player of the week because of what he was able to come back and do after this whole, debacle. But I will tell you that in my full honesty, people like Tyreek Hill, the way they handle it so classy, allows us to talk about it in forums like this, where we can really potentially implement change by putting pressure on these police departments to either train or to really pay the price. This cop, okay, he's on a minute. Of course he's on a minute, as he should be.
Right.
But that's not enough, because all these police officers that have racially profiled over these last, 3 to 4 years have been put on administrative leave too. And unfortunately, some people have died.
Now, what happens? Let me, because I got a lot of cops out listening to my show as well. Let me count that for a second. What happens now if that cop, say, had a flawless 25-year track record in the community doing good and had one bad moment? Should he lose his job, lose his pension, lose his career?
I'm not suggesting this cop should lose his job. This is not a cop failure. This is a police department failure. This is a system failure. I am not blaming this police. There's a reason this police officer felt that he had the power and that he had no other choice but to do what he did. I'm not saying, now listen, if this guy's got a record, that's a whole nother story.
Sure.
But if this guy doesn't have a record, that's a system failure. I own a business, okay? If my employees do something wrong, the first thing I'm looking at is myself. Where has the firm failed you?
Accountability.
And, we're always, especially in corporations or as an enterprise, we're always trying to point fingers when the real finger shouldn't be pointed outward. It should be pointed inward. And I think that the government does not hold these police departments accountable. I think that they just say, we're investigating. Oh, okay, we're going to make him lose his job. Then we all forget about it. We're talking about the next awful thing that's happened. Too much has happened. Enough's enough. And I think that I'm surprised. And this might sound dumb. We're not going to talk politics, but we all watched the debate last night. How does this not come? How does this not come up?
It's a trigger point. It's a lightning rod.
Two candidates aren't even seeing it as an issue.
Yeah, it's a lightning rod of a topic. And listen, we know, and we both can agree. You're right. There's some bad apples in the bunch. It's just in any walk or form of life. And that I agree with you 100%. I think it's unfortunate, the whole situation. Now, the aftermath, the ramifications, again, if you are representing Tyreek Hill, do you sit here and say, listen, because of this detainment right now by the Miami PD, we're going to look into a lawsuit here, right? I mean, is that probably the next,
yes.
Can you foresee? Yeah.
As he should. to be honest. Listen, I'm not one of these attorneys that are, I know this is weird. I'm not sue happy. I'm a personal injury lawyer. I try to work things out the best I can. I don't want to take people's houses and their cars. They have kids. Like, I don't want to do any of that. I want to get my clients the ultimate justice they can get in the simplest, smoothest form as possible, not to interrupt the lives of others. Because we all do have bad moments, right? We do. But I will tell you, Tyreek should sue. He should draw attention to it more. So I think he's talked about this as well. I've read some commentary about that, and he's talked about it. And I will tell you again, and I go back, and I'm so sorry, we're not going to talk politics, but how your two candidates have not paid attention the last 4 years, one of which, and I respect her, one of which is a member of a protected class and multiple, and you don't address it, shows me it's still not getting the attention it needs. You had a stage. You had a stage. And you could have, so my piece is, and I can say, listen, I am a white female. Tyreek, I have no idea what you're going through. But let me tell you, any part that the people that don't have to worry about getting on our McLaren 720 and getting pulled over and thrown to the side of the road and detained, we support you because it's wrong. And I want my 11-year-old son, who's a white male, and my 10-month-old daughter that's white female, to understand that color doesn't matter. Everybody's the same. And until we're all singing that mantra, including our law enforcement agencies, I'm not even blaming the cop, the agencies, we're never going to see real change in this country. And that's the truth.
Yeah. And the other thing is there's just too much talk, by the way. 4 o'clock straight up. Brooke Goff, kind enough to join us, founding partner, CEO of Goff Law Group, based out of Hartford, licensed in Connecticut, Rhode Island, Mass, New York, super lawyer, rising star, 7 straight years, and 40 under 40 award winner, bringing the smoke on this edition of The Drive with Q. Rich Quinones here. A couple guys chimed in on Facebook. I want to read one of them. Pete, listening in Delaware, chiming in. Q, I love your guest. I love her passion. I love her insight. I think she's a little off base. It sounds like she is giving Tyreek Hill 100% free pass.
Not doing it. I think that, again, we all cannot put ourselves in a position of somebody that has lived a life where they always have to be more careful than the white male beside them. We cannot pretend we know what that's like. I am not giving a free pass at all. However, when there is a pattern of events that occur, there's usually, it's not because it's a coincidence. I don't believe in them as an attorney. We have to look at the pattern and see how we can change it. And how you change it is making the institutions accountable. So I think, yes, should he have rolled his window down? Sure. But is the price to be paid for that cuffs and thrown on the ground?
No.
When you're begging for no. That's the piece. Yes, roll your window down, Tyreek. I think if he could have done it again, he'll say roll your window down. But the guy didn't go reach in his pocket. He didn't think he was pulling anything out. He didn't get out of the car and start going crazy on him. He wasn't under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Where are the limits?
Listen, fair points. Kevin on Facebook chimes in, listening in North Carolina. Q, I'm absolutely enjoying today's show. Your guest is incredible. I love her fight and her feistiness. And yes, we do as well. But I do have a serious question for her. Couldn't it just been a routine stop lasting 10 minutes and then Tyreek Hill used his platform as being a stud star NFL player to raise awareness?
Can you repeat? Could this have been a regular?
He's asking, could it have been a routine stop if he just abided by the officer and then live to fight another day, meaning get the ticket, go about your business. You're Tyreek Hill, hold a presser during the week, use the platform of being a star NFL player and trying to evoke some kind of change. Because to your point too, Brooke, all we're doing now, everyone's just this. They're just talking.
So we're assuming that that's what it would have happened.
Right.
I mean, it is a big step to get somebody out of the car and put them on the ground and cuff them. So if he rolled the window down, would he have still asked him to exit the car? If Tyreek even said something that would be, normally acceptable to another general population, would he have been arrested and thrown to the ground? We don't know. So we're making a lot of assumptions. But I will tell you, if that was the case and Tyreek didn't roll down the window and just got the ticket and moved on, of course that's the path of least resistance. But until that body cam footage is actually released, which will be quite some time, because that is right. We'll talk about attorneys right now.
Gun.
There's your evidence, right?
Yeah.
That's it. And I'd be interested to see if there's any interference or whatever the case. until we hear that body cam footage, I can't really answer it, but I can tell you it's a big step. Don't roll down your window, throw you to the ground and arrest you.
Yeah.
There had to be some sort of something going on. And those are the missing pieces we don't have. As an attorney, I've been trained not to speculate. I have. We're all human beings. But I tend to think that had the window been left down, we may have potentially run into a similar problem. Let's see what the body cam or the body cam video shows, and we can come back on and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I'm curious because you said that you do personal injury, correct?
I do.
I mean, and you're obviously you're very well spoken, intelligent. The more I listen to you, it would almost strike me as, hey, here's a civil rights attorney.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Tyreek Hill needs to go when he hires a lawyer, not necessarily with the, hey, I've represented boom, boom, boom. He needs to go with somebody that's passionate and understands what happened and really wants to institute change, whether that is somebody that's in Miami, whether somebody that's in Connecticut, whether somebody where it doesn't matter. Right.
As opposed to just getting the name in the paper, really fight the good fight. Really.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to throw your name in and I got to tell you, these cases, do you think the PD wants this case hanging around? No way. And I am sure if that body cam.
By the way, Thursday Night Football, they play again, by the way. So
yeah,
there's a storyline tomorrow.
Yeah, I know. I have Tua, so I know that one for on another league. So I'm not playing him. I'm not playing him. But we're huge. By the way, we're Jets fans, huge Jets fans.
Horrible.
Season ticket holder Jets fans. And but I will tell you, football is also. So let me make an argument for the cop for a moment. So the cop might be sitting here thinking, well, football is an aggressive sport. Makes me a little uncomfortable. I need to be careful with my handling of this guy. Anything could have happened. But at the end of the day, as a law enforcement officer, you're there to protect the community, not harm it. And I believe in that moment, the decisions that were made, Tyreek Hill did not show he was a harm to the cop or to the community. So why is he in cuffs on the side of the road? It's like PTSD. Right? We've seen it too many times. When is it going to end? I will, my piece here is, if he had.
Oh, I think we lost you for a moment. I think your camera, we lost you for a moment.
Oh, there you go.
There we go.
If he had rolled down the window,
yes.
What would have happened? I can only answer that truly when I see when I hear the body cam footage and see it. I think though that it might be some time you see that where they settle without it, because trust me, that's the last thing you want going public right now. And I can tell you that unless there's something in there, which I would assume Tyreek would have came forward with already, considering he's kind of taken a platform on this.
Yep.
It's only going to borrow more trouble to the PD.
Oh, and they're going to stretch it out as long as possible.
That's your key evidence. Listen, if I'm Tyreek Hill's lawyer, I'm like, give it to me. I need it in my hands. I want to view it. I want to see it. And you're going to fight that fight for months.
Now, you're a football fan, right?
Huge,
I mean,
fantasy
football.
Sure.
You played football. A little birdie told me that you weren't just a kicker. You also played on the line. I mean, what?
I did. So I wanted to be a wide receiver. I have really good catching hands. Trust me when I tell you. So I wanted to be a wide receiver. I played softball. I'm like, how different could this be? So no woman or girl, I suppose at the time, had ever played football in upstate New York at all, where I grew up. So I wanted to play. The coaches, they didn't want me to play. The administration didn't want me to play. So instead of giving me the position I wanted, which was wide receiver, they're like, you're offensive lineman. And then they put me up against seniors as a freshman. I was 130 pounds, soaking wet, 5'5", and they put me up against 220-pound seniors that were 5'10", and they beat the crap out of me for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. But I stayed. I finished my season. I was strong guard or weak guard, depending on the week, and had some sacks in there under my belt. But I learned a lot about the sport, and I loved it. It actually, made me love the sport even more. But what it also obviously taught me is, as a young athlete, there are limitations, and there's a reason why young girls or women are not playing with men. There's genetically and overall, there's such a disparity as we get older because I used to be one of these people, if he can do it, I can do it.
Right.
Well, sure, I can do it.
Right.
But it doesn't mean I should be. And I feel that as a society, we've really, we've really embraced that. And now there's like women's football teams all over Connecticut.
Sure,
It's great.
flag football. Yeah, absolutely.
And not even flag, they have
And
tackle.
tackle football. Yeah, tackle football.
Oh,
Yeah.
nobody wants to pull a flag.
Well,
Hit me.
you
Nobody
know what?
wants to pull a flag.
Hold on.
You're
Give me
gonna-
the mulligan. Give me object. You can object. That's fine. It's overruled. I didn't mean it like that. It was the
You're
first
gonna
thing that-
pull. Listen, you're gonna tell me to stop running. You better bring me to the ground. There's no way you're pulling a flag. I'm going to the end zone.
That's a fair. Now you're doing was it a marketing or also campaign with Jared Goff as well? No relation.
Jared Goff, yeah. Well, we don't know. I mean, no known relation, but we were talking when I went and I shot with him, and we obviously share the same last name, and we were joking about it. We have some family that live pretty close, so who knows? Maybe wicked distant cousins. But it's funny, growing up, we referred to Jared as the cousin as my son has been growing up. So if you ask Grayson, my son, he'll probably tell you he's my cousin, but no known relation.
And I'll let you out with this, though. You mentioned you are a Jet fan. You see my little blue helmet. I can't really speak because the Giants are bad. Are you a Rodgers guy, or are you a Rodgers guy because he's on the Jets?
I'm a Rodgers guy because he's on the Jets. Rodgers gal because he's on the Jets.
Rodgers.
Well, no, I understand what you're saying. Rodgers gal. Listen, I saw for the first time in 8 years, I saw everybody was so upset about Thursday. I was doing cartwheels to the house. I didn't care what the result was. I saw a quarterback run his offense, and I have not seen that. I haven't seen a third down conversion as a Jets fan more than once in a game in years. So I am a Rodgers fan. I saw Aaron when I was at the American Century Golf Championship, and I chatted with him about the season. I let him know my expectations, but I will tell you, I'm definitely a Rodgers fan on the Jets. I think we are stacked. I think that, quite honestly, I don't know where this Mason kid came out from, but for that kid, which we didn't prep for, I heard McCaffrey wasn't playing. I hate to celebrate somebody's bad luck, but my God, I was singing a tune all
run. Yep.
hours. I'm like, this is the best thing that's ever happened. But then this kid comes in, and I'm like, he's going to steal McCaffrey's job. So who knows, right? But I will tell you, next time I come on, I'm usually I play in a senior citizens golf league on Wednesdays. That's what you're seeing. I'll have my makeup on and my hair done. You guys will,
No, this.
I'll walk the walk and talk the talk.
Authentic now.
If you want to see the talk, if you want to see the walk the walk now, this is how I play on the golf course. So
That's what we
I was giving
want.
you a little bit of something.
Listen, this is no filter. This is the drive. Yeah, we don't care. The wind's going through our hair when we're taking the drive. We don't care about the makeup. We just want raw, authentic opinions.
The camera's not making my face look great. I'm not happy with the face. So next time, for my own sanity,
Fair enough.
we're gonna fix it up. And the first thing I want you to say before we talk about whatever topic it is, wow, did you wear makeup today? Did you put yourself together today? We can call it out.
I mean, I have to watch myself.
You'll be like meeting another person.
Yeah, but even though you did throw out the babe early on in the conversation,
Sure.
so I guess it could. All right, there's some synergy with that. Do you do anything with social? Are you on social media at all?
I am, yeah. So
Fire away.
I have Brooke Golf official page, and obviously my firm is Golf Law Group, and so you can check us out either or. We have some really awesome campaigns coming up too after Jared Goff even, and we have a lot of fun with it. I'm 37 and I built an empire that could retire me tomorrow, so I'm pretty proud of that.
God bless you, man. That's fantastic.
I'm pretty excited about that.
You came into the show with a little fire, and that's what we want.
Listen, Aaron Juice, I'm coming for your job, babe. I'm coming for a job. That's it.
You know what? You got the open invite. We might have to do something weekly with this. So you got. I mean, the accolades. Everyone's. It's like I'm seeing comments, tweets, text, Team Brooke. I'm like, I didn't know we were combatants. I thought we were just having some good dialogue. No, fantastic insight, and I really appreciate you taking a couple moments. Because you're very genuine and you're really authentic, and it's rare to find, right? Everyone wants to be PC, and that's not what we look for. Just be transparent, be honest, and give us your best thoughts. And that's exactly what you did. You're going to go out and hit them right now?
No, I did it this morning. You want to see? I'll introduce you real fast. The biggest Jets fan, Paula, can you come here? Paula.
Oh, we're getting a cameo.
I'm going to give you the biggest Jets fan that you've ever seen. Like, I can't even contain. Was doing my best to contain the entire Monday night. There's your biggest Jets fan. She had a Rodgers jersey on and everything. So there you go.
A little mic time. Look at that. Yeah, and then now I gotta watch
And then
myself.
she turns it off in normal fashion.
Yeah, well, we heard the little the mumbles in the background, so we kind of
That's JETS, Jets. That's what you
there
guys
you
heard.
go. Oh
Guys,
man,
take it easy. Thanks for having me on. All right.
Been making that kid a Jet fan already. All right, appreciate a couple more.
Thanks, guys. Take it easy.
All right, guys, appreciate it. That's fantastic stuff. By the way, I can't believe how many comments coming in on Facebook, my text as well. Absolutely crazy. We got to reset the table on the other side, Angel. I know we're due for a break. 11 past the 4 o'clock hour. We'll get your thoughts on the spot as well coming up on the other side, but we'll take you up to 5. Great stuff from Brooke. A lot of comments coming in, and we got to kind of recap that segment. So we'll come back.
What's the odds that you get, we know that attorneys are busy, but what are the odds that you get somebody that just comes in, and tells it just the way
guns blazing. Listen, guns a-blazing. That's exactly what that was. 727-858-6650. Very well spoken, very authentic, very genuine. But she also said a couple things that stood out. So I want to address it as well on the other side. 727-858-6650. We'll take you up to 5 o'clock on a Wednesday edition of The Drive with Q right here on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontb.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class. Let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all of these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him at the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Wow. Awesome. Where were you, Jill?
Yeah. We went to the forest. It's not that far away. Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Don't forget to get social with us. Follow Q at RichQ on Q. And now, back to Q.
All right, 4:15. I'm still getting comments coming in. 727-858-6650. See what you guys have to say as well. That's a fantastic spot. Let me read a couple of these off real quick. Joe in Ellesmere, Delaware, chiming in. Cute, glad you're back on the air. That was an outstanding spot with the lawyer. I agree with you. She's definitely full of piss and vinegar. Very entertaining and engaging. And she flat out said Tyreek Hill was racially being profiled. Listen, she had some very fantastic takes and insights. And I think, the beauty with what we do is you don't always have to agree. You can agree to disagree, but I wanted to get her thoughts on that, especially if she also believed that there's probably going to be an impending lawsuit. And it's tough too, right? Because I'm saying to myself, all right, Angel, you're going to investigate me. I'm going to investigate you. It's almost like a wash,
right?
In that regard. And the one thing I do want to convey, and I want to hear from you guys, and again, let the comments rip, 727-858-6650. My guy Vince chimes in, white people telling black people to be submissive is problematic, period. Well, two things. The cop was Cuban. I understand what you're saying. I don't think people by nature, do we like being told what to do? White, black, yellow, green, blue, purple? No, we don't.
No,
we don't. And as I mentioned, it's tough, man, because the argument that I think has been made or being made is keep the window down, listen to the cop. Then the counter argument is, well, even if the window wasn't down or the window was up and down and he did listen to the cop, maybe he didn't listen to the fashion that you wanted him to do. It doesn't give the cop the right to drag him out, right? And that's where I think, that's kind of where we're at with it. I don't know your thoughts. That was a great spot, by the way, with Brooke. That was a fantastic spot. 727-858-6650. What do you think, Angel?
No, it was a great spot because she brought a lot of points that obviously, people were asking, and she told the truth the way it was. So, I mean, a lot of valid points which she had made, as she mentioned, kind of teetering on the civil rights. It would be a hard case.
Hard push, hard sell.
I did like that she did say that he should sue, and rightfully so. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, the cop was wrong, period. So he should sue, but the same way as she mentioned is that to bring more awareness to it. So look, there could be all kinds of lessons learned about
Okay,
this.
so let's freeze that for a moment. Bring awareness. How many times in this country over the years have we seen this scenario play out? White cop, black person in the car, pulled out. It's almost, I'm not going to say daily. It happens way too much. And again, what bothers me, the internal conflict is I know what some of these cops have to endure. I know what some of my friends have had to endure when they've stopped people. I know what my father had to endure. Now, it was a different time. It was a different time. I mean, again, my father was a cop for 20 years in New York and then a detective. And this is in the 70s, right? And obviously, you're walking around, your last name's Quinones. They wanted white bread. That's not what my father looked like. But they wanted the cops to be a certain way and present themselves a certain way. And man, he used to tell me stories, right? He used to tell me stories. And think about this, New York, 70s, that's kind of, you get in the early, mid, late 70s. That's when a lot of the nonsense was going on. But again, and he used to talk a lot at high schools. He used to talk to a lot of schools about, staying away from drugs and alcohol. Did a substantial amount of community work over the years in New York with the North Castle Police Department. And, you have to be cut from a different cloth to serve the people, to be a cop, especially now in today's society, because people look at them and people, whether it's Spanish or African American, there's this perception, right, that this guy doesn't have my back. This cop doesn't have my back, right? I don't trust the police. So when everyone says we have to just open up the door and have the conversation, okay, we can talk until we're blue in the face, but how do we remedy this? Because then you'll have the counter argument. Well, what happens when some wielding idiot who's hopped up on drugs pulls a gun on a cop or pulls a knife on a cop? What's the cop supposed to do then? Ask him politely to drop it?
Well, no,
but my point is, you're going to have this side and you're going to have that side. So we can talk and say, hey, we got to fix the problem. We got to fix the problem. Is it every individual person? Is it the system? Is it how they're being trained? Should we do better? As a society, as people, when we're driving, to obey and not to mouth off. My thing with Hill was, I believe after he stopped, and if he just goes about his business, and I think people are going to get on me because it's semantics. So just hear me out. When you keep dicking around with the window and you keep going back and forth and going back and forth and going back and forth, that's showing me a lack of immaturity. That's showing me a selfishness. That's also showing me you're poking the friggin' bear. Again, it doesn't condone what the cop did. And I think it could have been de-escalated. It doesn't make it wrong. You get the ticket, you move along, you played the game, you balled out, talk about it during the press conference. Then all of a sudden, you've got the platform, right? You've got the platform. You can address. Look at all the resources the NFL has. Think about this, the billions and billions of dollars. You got the biggest friggin' stage, man. All eyes are going to be on you. All ears are going to be tuned in. Say what you need to say. Have the conversation, go in the community, gather everyone, sit down with the cop, figure out what he's thinking, what he was thinking after an investigation's done. Like, I'm not saying a kumbaya moment, but all I'm saying is lose the battle, win the war. And that's my only point with that. And I have to keep, because people will hear snippets of the show, I have to keep going back and saying that doesn't give the cop the right to use that type of force. It was unfortunate all around, but it goes back to what you just said. When everyone's saying, well, have a conversation, we've been doing that for years and nothing's done. Nothing gets done. So you're going to have the side pro-police that are going to turn around and say, well, when you need a fucking cop and he's not there, then what are you going to do? Then you're going to have people that are against the police and say, well, guess what? We'll fucking figure it out on our own because I'm not going to adhere to the rules and I'm not going to listen to a cop. Forgive my cursing. I just get very fired up about this kind of stuff because I want to find that happy medium. And I don't think you're ever going to find a happy medium when it comes to people, how they perceive cops and how they perceive we should behave when we're pulled over, or the treatment that some bad cops do to people, which is basically, at times it's almost like unhinged. I just wanted to get that out.
No, and that's fine because you make good valid points, but at the same time too is that you have to take away this situation for a second, because if you look at overall, if you let the asylum run wild in anything, people will continue to take advantage. Now, does it mean that there's, just like you said, and just like I'm pretty sure a lot of people think as well, is every law enforcement officer a bad cop? No, we all know everywhere you go, anywhere you work, there's always a bad apple somewhere. At the same time, too, if you want law and order, everyone should be following the rules. The law enforcement agency, civilians, that's the way it should be. But when you have a government as well that says, no, they can't afford this, so you do that. Oh, no, you don't have to respect what they have to say because they don't respect what you say. Now you have the country torn because it's like, all right, one side's telling me I should obey. This side's telling me I should do whatever the hell I want to. So it starts with that conversation because you have people that you have to change in your community that you've placed there because of voting laws and everything else. Start with that change so people can come back and say, all right, let's have that town meeting. But don't have it once and then go away. Just like the people that finally admit they're alcoholics, right? Hi, I'm Angel. I'm here, blah, blah, blah. You go through the whole spiel. No, I'm not an alcoholic. I'm just throwing myself out there as an example. But they go there to a meeting. Why? Because they want to get better. Just like a person who may have finally hit rock bottom, went on that drug binge in the whole 9 yards, and God woke him up and said, listen, bro, that was the last time I'm going to save you. Either you're saving yourself at this point or you're out, one of the two, right? And they finally have to come to Jesus party and they go around and start telling everybody, Jelly Roll, perfect example. Jelly Roll didn't have the best life, right? He said he went through his ups and downs. Now he's putting out messages and actually going to DC and telling people, if you go down this road here, here's what's going to happen. But if you're only going to have the conversation when it's a hot topic, of course, everybody's going to be like, so what happened to that conversation we had a month ago? That was a month ago. New month, new day. We're just going to, keep it the way it is. So yeah, there's arguments to both sides, but you cannot let the asylum run wild because then no one's going to respect one another. It's just going to be one big free-for-all. And last I checked, that's not the way the world should work. It should be that if the same way you go to somebody's house and you respect who they are, you respect their home, you respect that they actually welcomed you into their home, have their respect, enjoy it. You know, if it's a bottle of wine, whatever, cheese puff, I don't care what you bring. But feel like you're welcome there. So the next time they say, you know what, Rich, Angel, I like your guest.
I think, listen, everything you're saying, I want to get to a couple more comments too, though. 727-858-6650, because I'm not saying there is a disconnect. I'm not saying there's a disconnect.
Right.
All I'm saying is all we do is talk and talk. So then what's the solution? There's bad cops, but there's also those that want to poke the bear. So give me a solution. So again, I'm not saying ignoring a cop is not a smart move, but it's not illegal. It's not. Chirping to a cop is not a smart move, but it's not illegal. All I'm saying is you're poking the friggin' bear. Whether you want to admit it or not, it's factual.
Right.
It is. It is. You can't dispute. You can't deny it. If I'm tweaking, eventually what's going to happen? The bear's going to snap and bite back.
Right.
Does it make it right? No, it doesn't. Does it make it right to drag someone out of the car and smash in their skull, or put them in a chokehold, or put your knee in their neck or their back? No, it doesn't. No person should go through that. Let me tell you. Okay, so this was, I would say this was 2005 or 2006. So my friends that I've known for a long time, they're from DR. They're from Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. They moved down to Fort Myers.
Okay.
So every year, want to try to have a vacation or at least get out a little bit because I work so much, right? So I remember they were like, you work way too much, clear your head. I was dealing with some personal stuff, and they were like, just come down for a week or so. So I remember father took me to the airport. He's like, have a good trip, have fun. They were right near Fort Myers Beach, and it was predominantly all Dominicans, all Cubans, all Mexicans. It was highly populated Spanish area. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now this was 2004, 2005. It was also in the summertime. So it was friggin' hot. And my friends had to work. So they're like, hey, you don't have a car. We don't have a car for you, but you're within walking distance. So I'm walking around Fort Myers, going to the beach, fishing with a couple guys here and there, walking. There was like this long bridge. I just remember that, to go to this small beach, and then walking back, there was a plaza. And I remember one day I had on my sunglasses. Now at the time we had the wider flip phones, the short ones, the wider ones, right? Okay. I had my bandana on, my hair straggly, right? Had, facial hair. I had a backpack, and I was basically, I don't remember the plaza. I was just walking back and forth, went into a bar, shot a little bit of pool, had a couple pops, had a couple shots, enjoying myself. Just trying to get in a happy place for a little bit, if only for a couple days, walking back. Okay. Sheriffs come around, and I can see that they're following me. When somebody is basically behind you. Now I'm walking, mind you, and I'm walking on the strip near the road on the grass. Mind you, I had a couple, but I was very coherent and I was very fine. I'll never forget, car went like that, blocked me from walking. So then I just made a beeline to walk back to the plaza. Logic says, walk back in there, go back in the restaurant, relax. They followed me there, got out of their car, hands on the holster, pushed me up against the car, didn't say anything, pushed me up against the car. Then they said, where's your driver's license? Where are you from? So I was pretty rattled, to be quite honest with you. They took my sunglasses. They broke my sunglasses. They took my phone away from me. They grabbed my knapsack. I said, you can't look in that. You're violating my rights right now. They basically told me to shut the fuck up. So they said, you know what? Have you been drinking? I said, I had a beer, I had a shot. I was shooting pool. I was having a nice time. They said, hey, now this is where this is where your mouth gets you in trouble. The one cop was a younger guy. The guy that pushed me, he must have been part of the sheriff's department. And they turned me around after they took the phone, took the sunglasses, and they said, do the alphabet. So, of course, now mind you, cop son, shut your mouth. Everything I've been preaching, I was like, do you want me to say it in Spanish or do you want me to say it in English? Okay. Not the smartest thing. Pushed me back up against, handcuffed me. Hand to God, handcuffed me. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? I literally was like, my father's a cop. My father's a fucking cop. I was like, I'm not asking you. I'm just telling you, call him right now. What are you doing? Why are you doing this? They said, quote, I'll never forget this. You fit the description of an El Salvadorian gang leader in this area. Hand to God, an El Salvadorian gang leader in this area. And I'm like, I'm fucking from New Jersey. I'm visiting my friends. They went through my backpack. I told you they cracked other stuff. They grabbed my water bottle. They went through my clothes, my towel. They rummaged in. They patted me down. I said, look, just call my father. I was like, here's my wallet. Here's his card. I can assure you, he will let you know I'm not an El Salvadorian gang leader. All I remember from that day is I gave him the phone. They dialed because I was still fucking cuffed. All I remember is the cop saying, okay, understood. Hung up the phone. I said, well, the cop turns around. He goes, your father said, if you open your mouth one more fucking time, that it's okay if I get arrested. I didn't say anything. They said, you're lucky that, your dad, is a cop. Now, I was pissed. And when I tell you my hand was shaking, my adrenaline, I mean, sometimes when you have that, like you almost get in a car accident or, you're little or in high school and college, you almost get in a fight or, hey man, you were in the military. God knows what you saw. Like your hair stands up on the back of your neck and you like when they left Angel, I was so fucking angry and fueled with rage. Like I was just pacing non-stop. Called my dad, fucking I'm just going off. And he's like, relax. He's like, lesson learned. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, you don't mouth off to a cop. I said, do I look like a fucking El Salvadorian gang leader? And he's like, hey man, he's like, if you play the part, I'm like, I'm not playing any part. And he's like, look, he's like, all I'm saying is you're upset right now. We will deal with it when you come home. I go home and he sits me down and he's like, look, I'm sorry you had to go through that. You're a tough kid, deal with it. God forbid you didn't do anything stupid. I said, okay. And I fucking let it go. I never forgot it. 2 weeks later, he fucking calls me over. He's having his morning coffee. He pulls over the newspaper, right? It's like a USA Today. And all you see in a small little section of the paper was Fort Myers sheriffs accused of racial discrimination. So it kind of gives you an idea, like when somebody says, like, hey, you don't know, I know. Not to the extent of a lot of other people, but it's happened to me. It's happened to my friends that are black. Right? And it's a horrible fucking feeling. I mean, I'm minding my business. I'm not trying to draw attention to myself. I like wearing bandanas in the summertime. I like wearing sunglasses. I let the hair go a little bit. What does that make me, a friggin' drug lord? But in their eyes, I'm walking back and forth in broad daylight with a backpack, sunglasses, looking around, suspect. Does it give them the right to do what they did? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Should I have shut my mouth? Yeah, I should have. But I'm not comparing the two scenarios. But what I'm saying is, I get it, man. When someone says, "Oh, you don't know," at that time, and you're talking, you're in your 20s. That's just, that's a scary, proposition. And no, I wasn't driving the McLaren for some of you guys. 727-858-6650. You can be driving a McLaren 720 right now. That is probably still time. Shake that tree deal. Let me get to Vince's comments too, by the way. He had a couple good ones. I want to chime in with this. Bunker Boy says your civil rights were violated. Should have called Brooke. Well, I mean, it was a long time ago. 727-858-6650. But point being, resources don't change bias. Rodney King was in the 90s. Today it's about right and wrong. Hill did nothing wrong. Being a jerk is not illegal, nor is ignoring a cop. You are correct. Some of us want to fight the bear. See? That's where the bear has been stealing our food for some time, and now we've had enough. And you are entitled. One of my buddies, that opinion, that mindset, he has that same one, right? And I kind of joke like, don't look, man, you can't walk around every day and be angry in life. What how are you going to be productive? What good is that going to do? Right? I mean, everyone at some time or another has been royally fucked. I think we can all agree in some point of our lives, we've been discriminated against.
Yep.
There are certain forms of discrimination. I mean, when I started off, in radio, of course, the dog's getting ready to make an appearance, which is, there you go. I mean, she knows because I'm getting fired up. So what does she have to do? She wants to come to my rescue right now.
Uh-huh.
But, exactly. When I was starting off in radio, someone had the audacity and told me I should fucking shorten my name.
Jesus.
Can you imagine that? Now it's Rich Quinn with your sports update. Hello there, I'm Rich Quinn. And here is your HHCT sports update. The Whites defeated the Blacks today, 7-6. What are we doing?
Now, have you? It seems bizarre, right? But have you ever got email profiled?
I've gotten hate emails when I was on the air.
No, but I'm not talking about that hate mail. I'm talking about an email profile. Have you ever got that one?
Well, I mean, I get ads like for Goya, but does that mean...
No. All right. So you know how it's the same way. So let's say me.
Keep talking. Listen, just keep talking. I need to.
Oh boy. Keegan's on a roll here.
I'm right here. Keep talking. Go ahead. No, go. I'm right here. Keep talking.
No, that's fine. The phone was ringing, so I didn't make sure I had it there. But
tell me
no, but if like, let's say me, you, Vince, and the Barker boys, right? We're sending a text back and forth, right? And then Vince makes his point, but me, you, and the Bunker boys, we're looking at it like, huh? Did we understand that right? So then we write back to Vince and we say, hey, Vince, are you trying to say it like this? Or are we just, are we not reading this correctly? So I sent an email out to a company, finally meet the company, and the person shakes my hand. Oh, nice to meet you, Mr. Martinez. This is so-and-so. And I got the whole lineup of the office. You really don't seem like your email. I'm like, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I mean, I was lost for a moment when you said that. And I was like, you mean like spam email? I mean, but it's I hate to say it's apples and oranges, right? So the one thing that I really have always liked about being on the air is every stop that I've had, I had a very, the audience was very unique, if that makes sense, right? Like down here, when I was on the air for years, I had a lot of guys from AC that would chime in. Pleasantville, from Camden, right?
Right.
Because I always wanted my show to have a little more juice, right? So you appeal to certain audiences where it's just not, let's be honest, the old man, on the porch, here you go, and it's just like boring blah type of radio. I can kind of leave it at that. The audience can kind of figure it out for their own, right? Where you're always afraid to kind of say something or go down the rabbit hole. That's why I think a lot of that audience is carried over and they can appreciate what we're trying to do, what I'm trying to do, because you're allowed to have opinions. And, we might not always agree, but it doesn't mean that your opinion has less value, or your thought or your experience has less value than my opinion, my thought, or my experience. I mean, I shared that, and I haven't really shared that story on air. It was like the first time I really shared that story on air, but I just thought it was kind of it was applicable in this situation, because you never know what somebody has to go through.
Right.
So point being is, when I hear somebody sit there and say, "What? You never went through that," you don't know. Unless you're with me every single solitary day in my life, you have no idea what I've endured. Right. And I'm not comparing myself, because I have no idea what, the B-Boys or Vince or whoever's listening. I don't know what you guys have endured. I can't imagine. I'm not going to put myself in your shoes, because I can't. And that would not be fair. That would not be fair, because it's almost like it's dismissing what you're doing. But I know I've had friends that have been pulled over, and we know why they were pulled over. And a lot of them, developed a lot of anger from that. And I get it. I understand it. That's just a point I was trying to make. All right, let's take a quick time out. We got about 20 plus to play with. 727-858-6650. We'll get some more comments, Facebook, X as well. We'll take up to 5-ish. This is what he does. When I was about my live read.
I know. No, real quick.
His timing is it's almost like your timing is impeccable. What? Go ahead. I mean, the hell with the live read. Don't worry about it. Go ahead.
I was trying to stop you earlier. No, when you would come back as a guest, some guy had a thing about Deshaun Watson, but I just wanted to mention real quick as well. He said that Brooke was a great guest. She was very smart. And then he also mentioned as well, if it's funny, you guys were talking about getting profile through email and stuff. My wife is Caucasian, and it's funny because every time somebody calls to talk to her or something, they start talking to her in Spanish because the last name is Silva. So hers is just it's just so funny that just because of the last name, they automatically think my wife speaks Spanish. And it's the same way with Debbie. What makes it the double deuce for Debbie or with her late husband was Camacho, now Martinez. So she gets the same thing too. And then Saturday when we were at the game, at the match there, she was telling me that the Spanish lady had walked up to her and started speaking to her in Spanish for about 20 minutes, and she just shaking and nodding her head. And at the very end, the lady catches up the elevator and she goes, "Oh, you are the husband I was talking to."
Right.
No
habla inglés. No habla
Exactly.
inglés. Claro que sí. All right. Good stuff. All right. 4:45. Quick timeout. We'll come back on the other side on a Wednesday.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, grown-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have anybody to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
Don't forget to get social with us. Follow Q at RichQ on Q. And now, back to Q.
Bumper guy bringing it 727-858-6650. Week 2 of the NFL tomorrow night. Manana, Miami, and Buffalo. Panic time for a couple teams. By the way, it's funny too because we have so many displaced fans that listen into the show. I cannot take. I mean, I love all fans. I love all listeners that engage into the show. But Eagles fans are just so nauseating to me. Right after one friggin' week, one game in Brazil, and now all of a sudden they're dominating. Come on.
Who said that?
I'm looking at the chat. I'm looking at the chats right now. I know for a fact, BB boys. I know they are Eagles fans. Look at what pulling up right there. Well, this is the Penguin. Early work day for myself. Doing the drive while listening. LFG. There we go. There we go, BB. Can we move on from window gate? Talk about how... No, they're not. One frigging game. Driving and listening to the Hermano Q. Thank you. Appreciate that, Penguin. 1 week. This is one reason I can't stand the NFL, even though I love the NFL. It's always an overreaction, right? I mean, San Francisco, we didn't even talk about this because we weren't on the air yesterday. And I wanted to have a little more fun with Brooke. But if you're a Jet fan, moral victory? Because you had a quarterback that can complete a friggin' pass? Moral victory? Stop.
Nope.
My buddy texts me, he's a Jet fan, and he's literally like, oh, well, hey, man. At least he made it out of the game. That's where we're at right now?
Yeah.
Stop. That's absolutely absurd. And they got waxed by the 49ers. That's another thing. Who didn't have Christian McCaffrey, who's dealing with an Achilles injury, which is not good. That's not good.
Did you hear Aaron Rodgers' comment the other day when I think it might have been just before the game when he had mentioned, well, if we win, that's good. And if we lose and, pretty much we're the same old Jets. I'm like, what the hell is that?
I'm over Aaron Rodgers. Stop. Like I'm done. Aaron Rodgers showed he can still play a little bit. I give him that. But Aaron Rodgers is also 40, coming off that injury. And oh, by the way, they got more problems. Again, no Hassan Reddick. 49ers ran all over them. And see, the beauty with week 2 is this, Angel. Here's the beauty of week 2. You never want to start a season 0-2 if you lost your opener.
Correct.
You never. It's almost like a death sentence. Now, they're laying 3.5 on the road to Titans. They should be Tennessee. Tennessee's got a nice defense. But think about this for a minute now. You got the Bills and the Dolphins, Saints and the Cowboys. They're both 1-0. Bucks and the Lions, both 1-0. Colts and Green Bay. Green Bay's got Jordan Love all banged up. You don't want to fall to 0-2. The Giants and Washington, which is going to be if it's 75, you know where I'm going to be. There's no way I'm going to deal with that Daniel Jones nonsense. You got the B boys are just, come on, man. This is what we're doing right now. You don't want to acknowledge the Eagles' dominance. How about you talk about the Giants? Did you not listen to friggin' Monday's show? I spent 45 minutes destroying the Giants and Daniel Jones.
Sure did.
Futility. It's not even a word. You actually have to almost be good to be futile. They're not even good. They're not even a little Giants. They're so bad. Now, you know what's going to happen, though. Daniel Jones is going to go 20 of 28 for 268 and friggin' 3 touchdowns against Washington. And if they're down 14-0 in the first quarter, yeah, we're going fishing. Let me check. Hold on.
See what forecast for me.
I got to check the Doppler. Ooh, 77.
ABC?
Yeah, 77. That's not bad. We're still you got a couple more weeks, but then
the drop off.
Well, yeah, listen, when they're 0-4, the season's friggin' gone. The season's gone. Matt in Delaware chiming in on Facebook. Q used to listen to you on 1290 The Ticket. Love the fact that you're on the air. I downloaded the app as we speak. You're still riding high with your New York Football Giants. You got to give the Jets a little credit. No, there are no moral victories, but once they get Reddick back, they shore up the run defense. Aaron Rodgers is still going to be Aaron Rodgers. Missed you on the air in Delaware. Love to hear you now. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Do I have a ring the bell? Yes, matter of fact.
No, you don't have to. You don't need to. I'm just saying, where are people thinking that I'm getting
no, but I'm saying he
love for the Giants? No, there's no love for the Giants. They suck.
I was talking about he downloaded the app, senor. Thank you. The appreciation was to ring the bell for downloading the app.
Is that like in It's a Wonderful Life?
Exactly.
Right? With the what's his name? Juju Pedals gets the wings.
Exactly.
Do you know this is no, just that game probably. Who knows? I've been very flaky with the Giants because I've been very annoyed. I went on the air, it was probably 2 years ago. And they sucked then. And I went on a rant and I basically remember saying, I don't need to hear this. I don't need to watch this shit. My life is too short, blah, blah, blah. And people took it as I wasn't a fan anymore. I'm always going to watch. I listen to the game on the radio. I record the game. I go back and I watch the game. I just don't want my Sundays to get ruined. Now, if you want to call me a fraud, have at it. I've been watching this team for 30 something plus 40 years. I can name you every player, reel off every season, every horrible loss, every great win. I can talk to you what they did in 84, 85, 86, 84, get a playoff game, win it, boom, lose to the 49ers, 85, the shank punt, Landetta, the Bears, 86, 14-2. I can give you all that. All that. Who you got Thursday night? That line is 2.5. Man, they're going to make the hill. They're going to cook that up as much as possible. I just think Miami's the better team. I mean, hell, Arizona was able to move the ball against Buffalo. What do we think that Miami's going to do? And Arizona was getting 6.5. Right? So the Dolphins are my Super Bowl team. The Dolphins, I have them going to the Super Bowl, facing the 49ers. I have the Dolphins winging it all, so I got to stick with the Dolphins. 2.5, total is 48.5. Week 2 it's almost like week 1, right? We're still trying to figure stuff out. Like, this is my point that I made, I think, on Monday's show. Angel, I mentioned that Minnesota, they turn around and they beat the Giants. And they were 2.5, 3-point road dogs. Well, it just shows you how the NFL looks at some of these games. The 49ers are on the road against Minnesota. 49ers are laying 6 on the road, almost a touchdown favorite on the road, and they're banged up. Like the Christian McCaffrey, if he's got to miss substantial time, that is a crushing blow. A crushing blow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's a crushing blow for the 49ers. So, these lines, it's just, I always say, man, just be very, very cautious. And the best time to catch the line is right when they come out. And then you turn around, you see if there's any type of, boom, closing line value. Q, since you're in Florida, you should just start watching the Dolphins and the Bucks because they're doing good. I mean, that day will come where I will be there, Gas Pump Guy, but there's absolutely no way. There's nothing better, again, than sitting outside, and if it's in October, November, and it's 85 degrees and watching football, I'm fine with that. Instead, fucking snow blowing on the other side of the house. Friggin' the wind, according to Jeopardy, this area is like the windiest city in the world by square footage, square miles, whatever. A lot of wind being blown today on the air. And from our commenters as well, 727-858-6650. No one's talking. Why are we not talking about Deshaun Watson? I feel as though Deshaun Watson is just What do you do if you're the Browns with him? He's not the same quarterback he once was. He's not reading defense. His arm looks absolutely shot, and you've invested all that money in Deshaun Watson. I mean, if you're a Cleveland Browns fan, what are you doing? Did you? They gave up so much for Deshaun Watson. That's what makes it so ridiculous. I mean, first round. I mean, unbelievable. Texans got 3 first-round draft picks, a third and a fifth. Think about that. Wow. That's utterly ridiculous. I mean, it's plus they gave him $250 million, trade the number 1 pick Mayfield to make room for him. And Mayfield looks like he's going to flourish in Tampa Bay. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Looks like he's going to flourish right away. And here's the other thing too that no one's discussing. Clarence the Angel. Thank you. That's Mike B in Ohio chiming in. Appreciate that. Clarence the Angel. By the way, we should check. You know now that I have the rescue dog, there's absolutely no way I'm bringing my dog in the state of Ohio. Just wanted you to know.
Wait, say it again. Hey, listen.
I said,
yeah, go ahead.
I said, now that I have Kiki, there's no way we're making a trek to Ohio. What the fuck was that?
Wait.
Are you kidding me? I'm not gonna. I couldn't watch last night.
By the way,
yeah.
So, speaking of coincidentally,
yeah.
Debbie was telling me within the last hour they are sending apparently state troopers by the dozens and possibly the National Guard to Ohio to a particular town because it's gotten out of control. But last night was a complete different story as far as what one person said. I won't repeat it. And by the way, there is a particular person. Her music is bye-bye to me.
How do you go on national TV? How does the pumpkin do this? And you accuse immigrants of abducting and eating pets. By the way, I had a cup of coffee doing radio in Ohio.
Yeah.
It snowed in September. Yeah, I wasn't.
So you didn't see the town hall people when they brought it to the mayor and the mayor still dismissed it, even though the person had footage on camera and he still dismissed it?
That's just, I don't even want to think about that. Like, I feel like now I need to protect even more the pooch.
Oh, Jesus.
I do. You have no idea. You have no idea. I mean, I think that dog looks at me sometimes because I'm overprotective, and she's probably like, just back up.
No, hold on.
Let me do my stuff.
Just wait for it. It just came in. Sorry, it is funny.
Go ahead. What 727-858. Go ahead. Is that what we're doing right now? I mean, seriously? Is that what we're doing? We're playing. I mean, that's what we have become.
Oh man, sorry.
I mean, just listen. I get the whole chicken thing from back in the day, right?
Right.
Santeria and the spin the chicken head. Okay, fine, but the dogs,
I can't do it. Guess by the way, says he mentioned earlier about Deshaun Watson, but he just sent another one too. He says, I feel Deshaun Watson got his money and he just stopped caring about football. Like he doesn't love it no more. And you can see it in his eyes. He's just there because he has to be there. And then he says, so maybe Friday we'll be able to talk some college football because it doesn't look like we're going to do it today unless you run over, which I'm fine with. Listen, there's always bonus time.
Wait. Go back to that last part. This is what we're doing. Right? This is how we want the show to go. Go ahead. I guess you're not going to talk college. We're saving it for a Football Friday. But to your, that's great, by the way. But to Yeah, we're taking requests. To your Watson point, I tend to agree. I don't believe he has any passion at all right now. I believe he's gotten paid, and that's pretty much it. Kiki's doing very well. Thank you for asking. She had a little. We had a little infection, so we had to clean the ears. She doesn't like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she gives me the side eye when I do that. Nobody cares about the fourth best team in the AFC North. What's that? Pittsburgh Steelers? Is that who we're talking about? I think Vince is a Steelers fan. We kind of started the show with poking the bear. I think he's a flipping pigeons. I think he is a Steelers fan. And two things. Their offense is going to stink, so I would hammer the unders. But going back to Deshaun Watson for a moment, I want to make this comment. He's not the same quarterback he once was a couple years ago. The Deshaun Watson that had 33 touchdowns and 7 interceptions and I think 4,500 yards with the Texans 5 years ago, he's not the same guy. He's not reading defenses. He's not. We fire the shots right back. He's not reading defenses. He's got no arm strength. He's not pulling the ball down. He's not knowing when to tuck it in and run. I would not, it would, you talk about bold predictions. Let me pull up their schedule.
Okay.
So the Browns, they've got Jacksonville, the Giants, the Raiders, the Commanders, the Eagles, and Cincinnati. Let's say they lose to Jacksonville. They beat the Giants. They lose to the Raiders. So now you're 1-3. You beat the Commanders, you're 2-3. You lose to Philly and Cincinnati and the Ravens. Now they're 2-6. If Deshaun Watson is struggling at 2-6, $250 million guaranteed be damned, they're going to go to Jameis Winston because that coach is fighting for his job. Like that's another thing that you have to, when you talk about poor quarterbacking play in the NFL, you also, the caveat, you have to attach it also to the head coach. So I mentioned this on Back Your Play, which dropped a new edition last night. Lloyd joined me, Lloyd Vance. So that's on Amazon and Spotify, shameless plug. Also the YouTube channel, Rich Q on Q, also SR 1029. But you look at the quarterbacking play. If it's really poor, you also have to start to contribute it to the coaching staff and the coordinator and the head coach. So look what's going on in Carolina. They are starting to panic right now with Bryce Young. You cannot, ignore the fact that Bryce Young does not look like an NFL-ready quarterback. So they're panicking a little bit. The Giants, full-blown panic has set in from last year with Daniel Jones. Now, Carolina head coach gets a pass because it's his first stint. Brian Daboll's not going to get a pass. So there will be a time in this season with the Giants where if Daniel Jones continues to struggle, and Angel, I'm confident in saying if he goes out and he's 8 of 18 for 65 yards in the first half and they're down 14 against Washington, they're going to bench him. They're going to bench him. The head coach needs to back his quarterback. He has to. He can say the quarterback needs to play better. He can say the quarterback has to get into plays faster. He's got to read progressions. But say whatever you want. But ultimately, I have to back the quarterback. Behind closed doors, it's full-blown panic. We invested 4 years, 5 years, $150, $160. He's injury prone. He's inconsistent. He's throwing pick sixes. He's not reading defenses. He's skittish. He's seeing ghost. So going to the Deshaun Watson situation, yeah. If you're Cleveland right now, you got to be thinking to yourself, what are we going to do with Deshaun Watson? If you're Kevin Stefanski, you got to figure out. You got to know what the hell's going on. I mean, that's how bad it's getting for Cleveland. And there's no other way around it. You have to. Now, he came out and said that Deshaun Watson is going to start against Jacksonville. He might have a short leash too. He might. Watson's been a mess since his best Texans game. Seems like he knew all these rape allegations might or are going to come to light at some time. Listen, I believe the Texans knew something was going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they had to. We're not going to sign him. We're not going to, we're not going to play him. We're going to sit him. And we now want to jettison him. That's also, here's another thing. That's, the off the field distractions. I think he said, his father might have passed and condolences and everything. And then, you're going to have the people come out and say, well, guess what? When that happened with Brett Favre, he threw for 300 yards against the Raiders on Monday night. Everyone's different. But I also believe all these allegations. Yeah. I mean, think about that. 50 cases?
Yep.
That's bad. Is Bad Watson better than the next version of Winston or the best version of Winston? Maybe the Browns. Two things. Let me address both of those. How can it not weigh on you off the field when you're probably every other day on the phone with your lawyer? How to remedy this, how to do damage control, how to spin it. You're human. Your mind only works a certain way. You cannot compartmentalize all that nonsense. And I believe Winston right now, Jameis Winston, gives Cleveland a better chance of winning football games than Deshaun Watson. I mean, Jameis Winston, say what you want, he's a turnover machine, but that guy plays with confidence even though he turns the freaking football over. He doesn't care. And he'll throw it down the field. Deshaun Watson can't even do that right now. So that division, at this moment, Pittsburgh's got to figure it out with Justin Fields. Cleveland's got to figure it out with Deshaun Watson. Pittsburgh, they bring in Russell Wilson. Fields 1-year contract, the running back on a 1-year contract, all show it deals. Wilson on a 1-year contract. Then you got Cincinnati that just lost to New England. Okay. You're dealing with that kind of nonsense. That was a horrible loss for Cincinnati. And then that leaves Baltimore, which lost by 7 to open up the season on Thursday night against Kansas City. That division still, the two teams that are going to be there in the end, I believe are going to be Baltimore, and Cincinnati's going to figure it out. Now, I don't know how much of the hand issue is hurting Joe Burrow, but that's something to monitor. GPG, I think they're going to go to Jameis. If he's not doing good by the week 3, week 4, they have to go to him. There's no waiting till week 7, I think. Yeah, I believe that Kevin Stefanski right now, I can't blame him, but you also have to somewhat sign off again on that deal for Deshaun Watson. Now, it's the organization, it's the ownership group's fault, right?
Yep.
For that. But, they're in trouble, Cleveland, man, if they don't figure it out. There are a bunch of teams that I believe right now, if they fall to 0-2, their seasons are done. Their seasons are flat out done. The Jets are funny because if the Jets turn around and beat the Titans, the Patriots, and the Broncos, and the Vikings, Sam Darnold Bowl, they're going to be 4-1. And if they're 4-1 and Aaron Rodgers is playing poorly, and Aaron Rodgers is struggling, and Aaron Rodgers is taking hits, are you confident that they're 4-1? Or are you sitting to yourself saying, my quarterback's going to get knocked out again? So it could be like a false bravado, a fraud 4-1. But they can ill afford to lose because you've got Buffalo and Miami in that division. So they can't lose. They got to go out and they got to beat Tennessee. They have to. Denver, the Raiders, that's another team. No one's talking about the Raiders. Antonio Pierce, great player, leader of men, but I don't know who watched that game the other day. His in-game adjustments were horrible. They were absolutely horrible. So he might not be the answer, right? He might not be the answer at all. What are we talking about? Video Bryce Young. BB pushes Young till he's behind this. I don't know. I have no idea what's going on with Bryce Young. I have no idea what's going on. I don't know if the kid can play. I don't. Let's do this. We'll take I know we did a little OT. We'll take a last time out. We'll come back. We'll wrap it up. I know you guys love OT edition of The Drive. We'll come back and we'll reset the table. We'll get out of here on a Wednesday.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Download the Sports Radio 102.9 FM, the game app, and tell your friends that Florida has a new leader in digital sports radio.
You just keep bouncing your head?
I feel like movie trailer guy because we have Fade to Dark. I got to refresh. Hold on.
See? Wise guy. See, he thought I was playing around when I said, what are you going to do? Just bounce your head? And all of a sudden at the very end, he had a refresh. And he'll be back in about 3, 2, 1, cue the cue as he comes right back. There he is.
I just said I feel like movie trailer guy because we had the black screen. By the way, you know who signals when the show is over? It's not you. It's not, I don't get it. This dog thinks she just runs shit. He like pushes over the door and just stares at me like, that's it, man. You had your 2+ hours. That's it. Literally runs. Shit. Freaking dog made me lose my train of thought. What was I going to say? Thursday night football. We were talking about these 0-2 teams, yada, yada, yada. So wait, listen to this. So listen, Nick and PA chimes in. Q, listen to your show. I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. Dogs and cats. What's going on? I mean, hey man, you gotta get with the program.
Jeez.
You see all the postings on Facebook now. Everyone's posting their pet.
Oh no. I saw that. What else did there was one was I think it was like the Penguins all leaving out of Ohio. I saw birds leaving out of Ohio. There's all kinds of crazy stuff out there.
Did you see the video of the cat? It was like he was like climbing really slow, and then the spotlight was on him, and he froze.
Yep.
Oh man, that's where we're at. I mean, you can't. I'm telling you, there are other countries that are looking at us, and they're just like, "What the fuck is going on?"
Yep.
Oh man. All right. Let me. We got a good show on Friday, Football Friday. We will dive into a lot of NFL. We will get into college. I did want to make a point. Today is September 11th, 9/11, and like I said, I don't look at it as an anniversary.
Hang on to that thought for a second, because I believe the Penguin AZ has called in. Penguin AZ, are you there?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Mr. Q.
You know what? That's good because we needed. I needed a little laughter as I close my closing thoughts. What's going on, Penguin?
Not much, man. Calling in OT just because you went into OT. So that's the only reason I'm calling in. Just kidding.
Are you going to give me something? You're bringing something to the table?
Go ahead.
No. Go ahead, brother. Floor is yours.
Well, yeah, about time. I'm the one that's calling in. Heck. No, I just wanted to say real quick, great stuff from everybody. You, Angel, Pete, everybody at Coastal Sports Network. Real quick, just wanted to say, what do you think? Can I get your honest opinion about the Packers? You think they're done even if Jordan Love comes back in a couple weeks? That new defense by Jeff Haley still looks a little sus, man. Looks a little bit to me. I mean, even though the field conditions and stuff, I mean, Christian Watson let's see what he could do for a trade because he's not in. I don't think. I mean, Jaden Reed was spectacular. Jacobs had a great game, but
the health of the quarterback. I mean, that's really it. I mean, the health of the quarterback. Malik Willis as a backup's not going to give you anything. Now, Packers got some winnable games. I mean, you look at the schedule: Colts, Titans, Vikings. They're winnable games. It's just everything revolves around that offense and Jordan Love. I mean, hell, I have them going to the NFC Championship. I think you gotta wait and see. You got a very good head coach, but they do have to open up the offense a little bit. You're right about the wide receivers and being engaged. Everything is just, everything's on Jordan Love. I think it's a long shot. I don't know if he's going to play on Sunday. I think that's a situation you got to monitor. That's a tricky injury. I know LaFleur kind of left the door open, but they're winnable games, man. And again, if you get through September kind of unscathed, and who's to say they don't bring in the Packers don't turn around and bring in a veteran quarterback. Now here's a thought, right? There's rumors floating around that maybe you make a trade for Jimmy Garoppolo. You call up the Rams and you make a trade for Garoppolo for the next couple of weeks. Is that something that would suffice just in case Love's knee is there's more to it than we think?
I think so. I mean, I think anybody, I mean, to me, I think Malik was the guy that came in as like the janitor. And, all of a sudden, he's just kind of a guy that went in there to try to learn. And now he's going to get put in there and be like, oh, I actually have to really get in the game. I think he just came in. They didn't really have a number two. Clifford was banged up. They didn't do so much. I mean, Willis didn't even play in any preseason.
Right.
Granted, yes, nobody really, Jordan Love didn't play. Jacobs didn't play. None of the starters played, right? And like we've heard before, you got to play a little bit in the preseason. Like I heard on the Pete Shepard show this morning, these guys need to be able to tackle and finish a tackle. If you're like playing fake football or flag football, fine. But once you get into a game, it's not flag football anymore.
Yeah, you need
to get in there and grind.
Yeah.
People are going to get hurt. Our plays maybe shoddy or dirty. Yeah, I'm sure they even talk dirty to themselves. So, but yeah, I just wanted to get your take on it.
I appreciate it.
So I got it from you that if the Giants don't win on Sunday or whenever they play, you're going to go fishing for the rest of the season, right?
Now, hold on a second. Now, this is not Fox News. You listen, hold on. There's no credible sources. I cannot confirm nor deny that. No. Listen, I got probably fall striper season. You got a couple more weekends, but I'm going to watch. I'll have the hot toddy. I'll be watching. I'm going to be miserable. Because it's 4 hours. Here's the problem. This is where I'm stuck in between a rock and a hard place. Because they play 1 o'clock games. If they played 4 o'clock, I can at least tire out the dog. But I got this dog going freaking crazy at 1:32, wants to go for a walk, wants to go to the park. That cuts into the half. So it's almost like, okay, I can't use her as a scapegoat. But if they're really bad, then I have to, I'm not going to say I'm going to abort. I'm not going to do that. But I will try to enjoy a couple Sundays. It's a long season, man. Do I have to endure 17 weeks of Daniel Jones? I mean, seriously, would you wish that upon your worst enemy?
No, brother. Any given Sunday, next year, you're going to be like, this would have never thought. I don't think it would have happened. I mean, all it takes is sometimes just a little bit of gel, some type of light, and next thing you know, I'm like, hey, is this even the real team?
No, listen. I don't need gel. I got enough in my hair. I don't need anything to gel. I need a quarterback.
I'll get out of this so you guys can get out. And
I appreciate you.
Thanks for allowing me on to talk a little bit of Packer madness, and let's get together. I'd like to be a little bit more on your shows and stuff.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. We'll hook it up, man. I appreciate it.
Even on you, Rich.
All right, brother. Thank you,
All
man.
the stuff Lloyd Van brings on too. Thanks, brother.
Yeah.
Thanks for reaching
All
out.
right, man.
No problem.
Appreciate
Thanks,
you guys.
Jalen.
Thank
Go
you so
Pack,
much,
go.
man. I just don't want to endure Daniel Jones anymore. That's all. I just don't. I have no desire. I'm over Daniel Jones as a starting quarterback with the Giants. If they win and he goes 20 of 25, 288, my opinion's not going to change. It's just not. All right. I know we do have to start wrapping up. I did just, again, wanted to mention, and that's good stuff by Penguin. Appreciate. And, that's a faithful listener, man, and does a good job. Real good sports fan and knowledgeable. So, again, I don't look at today as an anniversary, but take a moment, reflect. That's all I'm saying, right? Just, take a moment to reflect today, September 11th, what transpired 2001. It's a very, it's a tough day for some. I know, or I knew of several people that lost their lives on 9/11. And it's just, this is why you always have to commend and salute those that were heroic that day, first responders, firemen, police, and also the military, and, just be respectful of that and just take a moment and just reflect. We all have our stories. I do know that that night, the Giants opened up Monday Night Football on the road in Denver because 2000, the Giants won the NFC Championship, destroyed Minnesota 44-0, and then Baltimore waxes them 34-7 in the Super Bowl. So the Giants opened up the season on the road against Denver. And the interesting thing is, at that time, I was doing very, I don't want to say limited, but I was still kind of getting my feet wet in radio. So I was freelancing. And at that time, everything you recorded, believe it or not, was tape cassette.
Yeah.
And we would do like the reel to reel or the mini disc. So I was working for a very small station. I was landscaping during the week, and then the small station, 1360 WNJC. It was right near 5 Points in Herfield Road in Deptford, New Jersey, where the big water tower was in South Jersey. It was a brokered stadium, a lot of religious programming, a lot of political talk, a lot of music. The late, great Jerry Blavitt did his show. They had Harvest Radio at night. They would basically tap into stations across the country and play Spanish music, Mexican music. And a guy had a sports show, Tommy Shaw. It was called the Afternoon Rumble with Tom Shaw. And he was a furniture sales guy. And he would do a show, he would get credentials, and I would produce his show. And once in a while, he'd let me go on the air and, I get to talking this and that. Anyway, I was like, hey, let me get credentials, because I started doing a Sunday NFL show. So I had my little black and white at the time, and I would go on the air. So I was actually credentialed member of the media, because I actually did a couple things prior to that. Long story short, the Giants were playing, and I was like, oh man, I got to go get tape. I got to go drive up to New York, and drop off sound, because that's what we did back in the day. You didn't airmail it. You didn't drop it. You just think about going to a studio and doing cart, reel to reel, mini disc, tape, and try to record everything and splice it up. I mean, nowadays, look, boom, we're done. It's on demand. We cut it, slice it, send it out. And I was supposed to be in the city that morning. The game ended late. And by the way, no one talks about this. For those that watched the game and maybe watched a game in bars in New York and got a couple pops and tore one up, some people were late because they were sick, because they were hungover the next day and they didn't have to go to work. Think about that for a moment. But I woke up late that morning because I was sick, and knock on wood, I rarely get sick. I just had a 24-hour flu, so I couldn't drive up there to drop off the tapes. But I'll never forget the Giants the following week. I believe they played Kansas City. The very next week, I covered the game. They played the Saints. And now I'm dating myself. Again, no. So we still had disposable cameras. I mean, that's just a fact. 2001. We had disposable cameras. Remember the Kodaks?
Yep.
And then you go and you run CVS, and well, I don't remember that moment. But anyway, I remember driving up Turnpike, and I can still see smoke peering out. And they had extra security. And when we were in the press box, hand to God again, a plane flew over the stadium, and everyone was like, what the fuck? And I remember some of the guys in the press box were running to the phone to call their wives and their families because they didn't know. There's like unauthorized. Remember, you just couldn't, I don't know what it was, but I'll never forget that. Never forget that day. Never forget those moments. And even though I'm a Yankees guy, I'm a Yankees fan, right?
Right.
Pop, we say a pop is a beer. Have a couple pops, not a soda, not soda pop.
Right.
But that's fair. I mean, if I have to distinguish for the audience, that's fine. Get the pops on, right? It's beer. That's when Bush came out, had to throw a strike, threw a strike, and then Piazza hits the home run against the Braves. So, but yeah, interesting enough because people don't talk too much about that. For those that were out very late that night. And by the way, I think the Giants lost 34 to. I think it was like 34 to 19. I mean, the game was not competitive at all. I think it was, it was 31-20 they lost. They beat Kansas City. They beat the Saints. They actually started 3-1, but the Saints game was September 30th because remember, they didn't play after 9/11. So you had a low, I think it was 12 days or so where everything kind of just shut down. But man, Angel, I'll tell you, I will never forget seeing still the smoke, just hovering. And part of me almost feels guilty because I can't watch any of those documentaries anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I can't, man. The History Channel always airs the one where you see the buildings come down and then, people jumping from the buildings because they had no other option. It's gut wrenching, but it's not, in my eyes, an anniversary. It's just more or less a day to remember and to reflect. So I just kind of wanted to add my sentiment in that. So, all right, brother. Very good stuff today. We had a very busy show. You guys were outstanding with the comments and the engagement and the ball breaking. And Brooke was full of piss and vinegar. She dropped 2 babes. And then she friggin' invited herself back on the show, which means she's got an open invite, right? Exactly. So we'll do it all again on Football Friday. Costco, Corey Parsons might join us. Lloyd Vance's View. We'll take a look, deep dive into the games. Don't forget, start your week off Monday to Friday. Pete Shepard Show, 7 to 10. Martinez and Company, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 10 to 12. And then myself, Middays with Q. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 3 to 5. I feel as though if I keep going, you might do the finger thing and might have to add something. This is too clean of a break for me to get out. So I know I'm disrupting the flow right now because I'm saying it, but I feel as though you need to say something.
See, the one time I don't say anything.
There we have it. And for mi hermano, Angel Martinez, I am, of course, Rich Quinones. Appreciate everyone keeping us locked into the drive with Q. You guys are fantastic with the messages, the comments on X, on Facebook, and, of course, during the show, 727-858-6650. We might not always agree, but we always welcome your thoughts, your opinions, your comments, and we love the fact that you guys engage and spend a couple hours a day and week with us as well. All right, have a good Sports Wednesday. Enjoy Thursday Night Football. You got pennant races, Steve Gardner on Friday too with some baseball plays. We will do it again back in the saddle on a Friday edition of The Drive. As always, I'm Rich Quinones. Be safe, be sound. Hasta luego, buen día.